Hey everyone, we're here at SEMA 2022. We are in the Mobile One booth, and we have had the super fun opportunity to chat with racer Loni Unser. Loni, can you introduce yourself and tell our audience what it is you do and what it is you race?
Yeah, hey guys, my name is Loni Unser. I've been racing sports cars for about 6 years now. I started racing Spec Miata in the Rocky Mountain region, which was incredible, and then racing has enabled me to do a bunch of cool things. Like I raced in Mexico, been on some TV shows, things like that. And most recently, I raced the Pikes Peak Hill Climb, which was phenomenal. Definitely the coolest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Hoping to do that for more years to come. And hopefully racing Porsches next year.
Oh, that's very exciting. Yeah. So you raced Spec Miata for a while. How did you get into doing Spec Miata?
Yeah, so Spec Miata is really the perfect place to start racing,
right,
because it is so competitive,
right,
and it really teaches you how to drive a car. And so it was kind of the natural thing for me to start doing,
right,
to start racing. And I learned so much so quickly by racing Spec Miata, and it really just it showed me how cool driving is, and how it just like made me love it even more than I already had.
Excellent. Well, what got you into racing in the first place?
So my whole family raced. Yeah.
It's sort of a throwaway, but it sounds silly if I'm like, so
yeah,
a few people she knows.
Right, right. A few people I know race some cars. So I grew up around the sport.
Right.
So
right.
I grew up going to the races with my dad. Basically, the racetrack was our family reunion.
Right.
Indy 500 was our family reunion. So it was always something I really, really wanted to do. However, I grew up in Idaho, so.
Right.
No racetracks.
No racetracks in Idaho.
Yeah, there's nothing that close. So I grew up ski racing, actually, which was kind of kind of how I started my journey in line finding. I guess. But racing was always something that was in the back of my mind. That was like, I think I have to do this, because we'd go racing or we'd go to the indoor go-kart track as our team building activities for ski racing.
Right.
And I'd kick butt. So
of course.
So I was like, this is in my blood. I have to do this. So when I was a senior in high school, my dad said, "Hey, Loni, you should go to a driving school. I got to go when I was your age. I think you should too. It'll make you a better driver on the street." And there was no questions asked. I was there. And then after the first day of that driving school, I was like, I know what I have to do. I have to go racing. There's no if, and, ors, or buts about it. And from then we started developing a program and started racing Spec Miatas. So couldn't have done it without my dad and so many amazing partners along the way.
That's excellent. So the transition to doing hill climb, that's a very different type of racing.
Yeah.
I grew up in Colorado Springs, so
cool.
Yeah, so hill climb was always something that, you're like, okay, what's going to happen this year? But like that's a very different experience for training and racing. So I'd love to hear just a little about doing that, and then now the transition into driving Porsche, which again is a pretty exciting next step.
Yeah. So it's funny because when I was racing Spec Miata, obviously my family has raced Pikes Peak for years and years.
Right.
My dad has raced it as well, and so we'd race at the Speedway in Colorado Springs.
Right.
And so I had a race there, and my dad was there, and I was like, "Dad, take me up Pikes Peak. I want to hear what it's all about."
Yes.
I had never been to the race. I didn't know much about it at the time.
Yeah.
And so he took me up, and I was horrified.
Absolutely
horrified.
I totally feel that.
Yeah. I was looking down the 1,000-foot cliff drop saying, "Dad, there's no way. How the heck did you ever do this?" And he told me one thing, and he's like, "Loni, you just focus on the road." And I was like, "Yeah, that's a bunch of BS." Yeah, right. So anyways, I kind of go on, and last year I was like, I didn't have anything going on, and I knew the Pikes Peak Hill Climb was going on, so I was like, I might as well just go and spectate, meet some people, say hello. And I went and fell in love. I was like, okay, 365 days from now, I know what I'm doing. And so from then on, I put together the deal and ran Pikes Peak, and it was so cool.
That's amazing.
And it's really true what my dad said. You only focus on the road, which is kind of amazing. I mean, it's wild. It's very different, and a lot of preparation had to go into it. I watched countless hours of video, and I drove, because I live in Boulder, Colorado,
Right.
so I got to drive the road a bunch. I'd
Yes.
go to Colorado Springs and just drive the road for really as much as I could, and that was probably the biggest thing that helped me this year.
Yeah. If people have not even driven up Pikes Peak, that you don't have a sense of like what that would be like. I think people think like, oh, I'm just going to drive up a mountain if they've never done it. And you're like, no, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I'm just going to drive up there and die, let alone race up there.
Yeah.
So like, I always think that's such an amazing feat to be able to not only like drive it, but race it and like have that focus, have that ability to just put all that stuff together. So just congratulations on doing
that. Thank you so much. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the Porsche racing.
Yeah.
How is that? How did that come about? And what's that going to look like for you?
I've been lucky enough to be racing a Porsche Cayman in a series called World Racing League for the past 2 years. So really familiar with the Porsche brand and the Cayman specifically.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I decided to run the Cayman GT4 up Pikes Peak, is because it was such a good platform to do that race in, because the car is really predictable. And it's a great car to drive, and it's super fun to drive. It's just like everything about it is so fun and so great, and you can tell the thought that went in to that car. And so this next year, I'm hoping to race more Porsches, hoping to race Pikes Peak again.
Nice.
Hopefully putting together a deal potentially in Carrera Cup or Porsche Sprint Challenge. I was able to go to a shootout with a pretty prevalent team and test the 992 car, which
excellent.
was amazing. It drove just beautifully, just like I'd expect from the Cayman. So definitely hoping to be in more Porsches for years and years
Excellent.
to come.
Well, we look forward to seeing that as well.
Yeah.
We'll be following to see what comes next for you. So
absolutely.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today about your racing experiences. And again, we look forward to seeing what you're going to do next. I'm sure it's going to be great.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.